Welcome to How to Wallpaper with Abode. Today we're going to be using the I Love Wallpaper Perfect Sky in grey. It's really thick, good quality and absolutely stunning for a nursery. Before buying your wallpaper, what you want to do is measure the wall first. You want to know how many drops you need and therefore how many rolls you need to buy. I only needed it halfway up the wall, so I only needed 3 or 4 rolls, but you need to factor in excess as well, so about 10%. After you've bought your rolls, double check the pattern number and batch numbers are the same so that there's no inconsistency in colour or pattern. To get started, you'll need a spirit level, pencil, wallpaper scraper, sandpaper and polyfilla. Then to wallpaper, you will need an edge roller, wallpaper brush, paste brush, pair of scissors and a small craft knife. And finally you'll need some wallpaper adhesive, a bucket and a drop cloth to catch any drips. The first thing you want to do is sand the wall. Here I've got some marks where previous wallpaper has ripped up the paint, so I'm making sure that's all level, feeling the wall with my hand and sanding down any rough bits. Really take your time to do this because any inconsistencies, any bumps will show through the wallpaper. Next I'm going in with some polyfilla just to make sure that these dips in the paint are covered and it's all level and smooth. Once the polyfilla is dry, you can go over again with some sandpaper. I recommend 220 grit, and this will make sure that everything is super smooth for your application of wallpaper. Then you want to go in with sugar soap. You can either go in with the liquid or the wipes and just give all the walls a good wipe down from top to bottom, making sure that any dust is picked up. So you want to make sure your first piece of wallpaper is hung straight. So you want to measure the width of the wallpaper and then go about 3 centimeters shorter and measure that distance on the wall. Mark it with a pencil and then using a spirit level, mark a straight vertical line, ensuring that it's plumb, just to get that first piece in as perfect as possible. I'm in a new build and none of the corners or walls are straight, so this is an essential step for me. Always follow your packet instructions on how to mix your wallpaper adhesive. I've gone for paste paper adhesive, which is, for this, is about 5.5 litres to the whole pack. So I'm using an old whisk to mix it together and making sure that it's a nice gloopy consistency. When pasting, you want to go down the middle first, so the whole length, and then do the sides in stages. Paste right up to the edges. A pasting table is best to do this on, but I'm just using a piece of furniture. You want the whole thing covered, but not too thick. Once it's completely covered, fold the wallpaper in half, leaving a small section at the top for you to hold and stick to the wall before you unfold it. Once you're at the wall, slowly peel the rest of the wallpaper down, especially if you've got a long drop. Line it up with your line and then using your wallpaper smoother, smooth down like a Christmas tree, so downward directions. Because your vertical line was 3 centimeters or so shorter than the paper, you've got this corner that you'll need to trim down. So make sure you put the brush right into the corner, create that seam, and then go up and paste the top. Again, creating a seam along the top, and do the same for the bottom. With the edges that overlap, so the top, bottom and side, you want to draw a line with a pencil. This wallpaper is wipeable, so I can wipe the pencil mark off straight away. And my poor camera skills here, I'm sorry guys, you can't see me, but I am cutting off the lines. So after I've drawn the pencil lines, I'm going in with some scissors and cutting straight away. If you want to wait until the wallpaper is dry, you can then go in the next day with the craft knife, so it depends how much of a perfectionist you are. I've found that craft knives and Stanley knives just rip the paper, so I try to stay away from those and just use wallpaper scissors instead. When I do cut a new piece, I leave about 5 to 10 centimeters on the top and bottom just to make sure I don't undercut. And then once you've pasted and you've peeled back the half that you folded, you want to line up the pattern. So here I've got clouds to match up. So I'm slowly pushing the paper into the seam, making sure that it's perfectly lined, adjusting when necessary. And I'm doing this all along the left edge. Then, so it doesn't fall away, I'm just going to stick the top out quickly, grab my wallpaper brush and start brushing the air bubbles out. So from the middle downwards again, making sure the seams are really butt up against each other so they'll disappear once the paper is dry. This may take a few minutes because lining them up can be tricky business, especially when you've got a busy pattern. Luckily these clouds are quite easy to match up. So again, I'm just smoothing it out, noticing any bits that are sticking out that haven't stuck down properly. I'm just going over that seam with a seam roller just to make sure they're extra stuck down. If you see any bits that are still lifting, put some more paste behind there and go over it again. Once your top seam is creased and you've drawn a line in pencil, you can go over it with scissors. As I said, I wouldn't recommend craft knives unless the paper is dry. And just brush that back up into the seam, and if you need to, add more paste. To cut the third piece, again, I'm lining up the pattern and then cutting. I'm going to be doing panelling, so I'm just trimming off the bottom here too. Keep going along the wall with your wallpaper and doing the same technique, cutting off the top and the bottom, lining up at the seams, smoothing down with the roller, and then once you get to the corner, this is what you do. I hate corners the most, especially in a new build, because no corners are completely 90 degrees. So what you do is you paste it as you did the first one, so paste it into the corner, cut the seam up to the one wall as if it were a feature wall, and then use that offcut as a new piece for the wall. So you want to create a new straight line like you did with your first piece, so treat this as a new wall basically, and then you want to cut the seam again, the top and the bottom, smooth it all down, etc. We'll check it's plumb so you can carry on with your wallpapering on a straight line. So going around windows, this next piece overlaps the window slightly, so I need to cut it in a way that works. So basically you want to cut where the window stops, and then you want to wrap the bottom bit around the window insert. Then we'll cut and disguise a piece that wraps around the top. So once again, cut your piece lining up the pattern and then stick it down, aligning it with the piece you've just stuck up. And you want to paste it over where the top of the window comes. Smooth it out with your smoothing tool and see how much you need to wrap around the corner. We'll cut a little slither to cover any that's not covered by the paper. So once you smoothed the top, created your little C, trim the top off because it's just easier to work with that way, and then run your finger along the top edge of the window frame to where the corner is. Stick your scissors in the corner and then cut that straight line. We'll completely disguise the piece that goes wrapped around the top, so don't worry. So with a bit of wallpaper that's left, you want to just paste that down, add any extra paste if you need to, and ensure that there's no air bubbles in that corner, because when it dries, it'll end up looking not good. So here I'm lining up another piece, so basically exactly the same pattern as I just did, making sure that the pattern will line up. This takes a few goes, as you can see. I'm just triple checking. So here's me, I'm just creasing out that piece again, cutting a little bit and enough to go around the window. Then I'm just going to slather it in paste and stick it up. So you want to peel back the existing wallpaper, as you can see here. Peel it back and put the new piece under it, like so, lining up the pattern. Then once you've pasted it underneath the window, you want to create that corner seam and then stick it down properly. Again, so that the original piece is overlapping the piece you've just put under the window, if that makes sense. Here you can see I've cut a tiny little slither to go in this gap. I've measured it and cut it, and I'm just pasting it in, making sure the seams line up. So here again, I'm just cutting off a piece to line it up. I've pasted it, cutting off the top, wrapping it round the corner, and then trimming it at the window again. Just removing some brackets from my blind that I forgot to do beforehand. And here you can see up close what the seam looked like. You literally cannot even tell because it's on a corner. Now the other side of the window is basically the same, so you want to cut a piece long enough to go all the way down the side. This time I've cut vertically so that the piece can wrap underneath the window, and then the long strip just goes down the side. And then just filling in the side bit of the window with an extra bit of paper. And then continuing it again at the corner, treating every wall like a new wall and cutting off that corner, using it as a new piece to line it up. Here you can see a bit more closely where the side seam has gone. So again, I've concealed the new piece on that corner underneath the thin strip, so you wouldn't even notice it. And then down the corner, you've got this new piece lined up with a straight edge marked on the wall. I'm not papering the entire wall, but here's how to wallpaper behind a radiator. Just take it off. You might have to bleed it and take it off at the pipes, but a lot of new builds have flexible pipes where you can just lift the radiator away. So you can then just wallpaper on and then just hook it back on once you're finished. It's very easy to do, and someone might be able to hold it away from the wall if you've got fixed pipes. So here I'm just going in with the next piece. Didn't bother folding this one. Line up the pattern, stick it down, and repeat as before, lining up, etc, etc. If you're wallpapering around any light switches or power outlets, for example, what you want to do is mark out the corners of where these outlets come to. You can either run this along your finger or mark it with a pencil or with some scissors. Once you've done that, you want to get your craft blade and do this while it's dry. Get your craft blade and cut an X from corner to corner, both sides. This will help you go around the outlet. So you can either unscrew the outlet and take it off completely and then wallpaper behind it, so you just tuck these flaps in, or you can cut this X and then that will help you getting the straight edges you need to go flush around the light switch. So I've skipped around most of the rest of the room because it's pretty much the same, going around the door frame as you would the window. Obviously you don't need to cut or tuck anything, you literally just cut as if it were a ceiling or a floor basically. So here's me putting the last piece. Again, you want to overlap the corner, trimming that off, trimming the top off and smoothing it all down right into the corner. You can then go over with a wipe. Obviously this is wipeable, so I can rub off any pencil line that still remain. But I absolutely love this wallpaper. Look how tranquil this nursery looks now. I really can't wait to finish decorating it. Yeah, that's my quick how to wallpaper. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me at _Abode and I'll get back to you. And if you want 10% off this wallpaper, use Abode 10.